Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the TradeStation Getting Started. My throat is a little bit affected, so hopefully it'll last for today's presentation. I'm here to answer any questions you may have, so feel free to communicate those questions through the chat window if you have any. Before we get started, the usual introductions and disclosures. Keep in mind, well, actually, not the disclosures. This is the title slide. If you're not if this is your first time in a TradeStation webinar, my name is Jesus Nava, and I'm the Director of Client Training and Education for TradeStation Securities. We are going to talk about the TradeStation Desktop. As a TradeStation trader and user and client, you have access to multiple TradeStation platforms on which you can trade. Today, we're going to highlight the flagship product of TradeStation, which is the TradeStation Desktop. But we also have the web trading platform, and we also have the mobile app, which you can use as well. So let's go ahead and go through the disclosures now. We have the disclosures light up. Keep in mind that every symbol and idea that I talk about is for educational purposes only. These are not recommendations of TradeStation. Also, that active trading is not suitable for everyone, and that past historical performance is no guarantee of future results. For additional information on these disclosures, go to www.tradestation.com/important-information. All right. Welcome, everyone. Let me go ahead and switch over to my TradeStation platform. I don't see any questions yet, so I'm just going to jump into some of the functionality that is available on the desktop that everyone that is using TradeStation can take advantage of. When you first log on to TradeStation, you see something called the TradeStation Today workspace. I don't have it open right now, but this may happen to you. If you start using TradeStation, you may log in and you don't see the TradeStation Today workspace anymore. But take a look at the top here of my apps menu. You can see that there's a TS Today button. If I click on it, it'll go ahead and open up the TradeStation Today workspace, which is what greets you the first time you log in to the TradeStation Desktop. There's a few things here that I wanted to point out. First of all, on the left-hand side, you have a collection of videos that make up the desktop quick start, or the quick start desktop. So you can go there and watch a brief video on a lot of the applications that are built into TradeStation. Right here in the middle, we have the news feed. So anything that's coming through our news feed is populated right here in the middle. Over here on the right, we have upcoming events. In fact, I can already see that upcoming events is outdated. I need to work on updating this piece on the right-hand side so that it shows current events. Today is the 29th. I can see we're a week behind, and I apologize for that. I'm going to work on getting that fixed right away. But if you're looking for upcoming events, then go to tradestation.com and you'll find an updated list right in there. Let me see if I can pull it up here on my screen so that we can all look at it. Let me go here. Here, here, and here. And then I can go here. Oh, this is not what I wanted, but it works. Okay, so let me bring in, this is the TradeStation website, direct homepage, tradestation.com. And right here, you have the top menu bar. And if you hover over Learn, you're going to see a section for events. If I click there, this is the place where you see the upcoming events. We're going to make sure that we update the TS Today so that it has all the most recent information. But you can see that we have the event that happened yesterday, the event that's happening today. Tomorrow, we have a special presentation on options, the bear call spread, trading time and volatility. If you're not an options trader, or if you are an options trader, is a great webinar for us to attend and get exposure to the bear call spread and its different applications. This webinar is also accompanied by an article and a PDF. So we have a lot of educational resources tied in with this topic. In fact, we have a dedicated options education center. So if options is something that interests you or you trade all the time, also part of the learn menu, you have an options education item that you can click on. And this is a place where we have all the different articles and all the different webinars. So the bear calls spread webinar that I just pointed to will eventually be posted here as an archive. You have the option strategies. By the way, this is a carousel. You see 3 content cards, but you can click on these little arrows to cycle through all the different options, strategies, articles. If I scroll down, I have the featured webinars. For every article that we write, we have a webinar, like a live webinar, where we talk about the application of the strategies. And we also have this in the form of a carousel. Come here and take a look at all the different strategies we have here so far. And of course, we have a link here to a page that explains the options levels and how you can learn more about our options trading tool, which is called TradeStation Pro. So yes, I encourage everyone to come here, not only go to the events to see the topics that are upcoming, but also go to the Options Education Center. I'm sure you'll find something useful that you can use in your everyday trading. Let me go here to my TradeStation Desktop and open up a new workspace. Workspaces are tabs that you see at the bottom of the platform. You can click on this little plus to open up a new one, and you can see that it says untitled workspace because I haven't saved it. All workspaces in TradeStation are saved locally to your computer, so make it a habit of saving your work once in a while so that all your changes are saved. A lot of times, we may add a list of symbols that we want to watch, and we want to keep on watching it. So make sure that you save the workspace so that next time you open up TradeStation, the list opens up the way that you left it. The apps menu is always going to be at the very top. Usually appears as a tab right here at the top, but when you open up a new workspace, it opens the menu or the apps menu automatically, so you can choose an application to look at. In this case, I'm just going to click on chart analysis. It'll open up a chart, and anytime that you need a chart, all you need to do is come here to apps and click on chart analysis. So in the chart analysis screen, let me go ahead and resize so that it fills my whole area of the workspace. I just grabbed it by the corner. I'm also going to press the down arrow key on the keyboard. Now, this is a shortcut that I use all the time. In order for me to compress or expand the chart view, I use the up arrow and down arrow key. Down arrow key to compress. You can see how it just compresses the chart. And I can use the up arrow key to expand. It gives me a little bit more space in between the candles. You also have a toolbar right here on the top that allows you to switch time frames. For example, if I wanted to see a daily chart of Tesla, there we go. And I'm looking at Tesla, and I'm looking at these lines on the right hand side. I haven't talked about them, but the lines that you see here on the right hand side are orders and trades that are working currently on my simulator. This morning before the market opened, I sent a market order with a GTC. I had a user that was using TradeStation, and he was asking me a question: how do I submit an order that gets executed at the opening of the market, but I want to place it at 7 a.m. in the morning? And I said, well, what you can do is send a market order to buy whatever is it that you're buying. In this case, we bought 100 shares of Tesla. But whatever the security you're trying to trade, you submit a market order, but you have to make sure that the duration of that order is set to GTC. If you do a GTC market order before the market opens, what it'll do is it'll queue the order for execution, and it'll wait until the opening of the market to send it and get filled. So in this trade, I was also able to submit a profit target and a stop loss with that market order, which is cool because what the trader wanted to do is get his trades ready very early in the day and then submit them. And he wanted to buy, the securities at any price that they would open at, but still set, some offsets from that entry price for a profit target and a stop loss. In this case, we set up a $10 profit target and a $5 stop on Tesla. And not for any particular reason, just so that he would have an example. But this is an order that got filled this morning because I submitted it close to 7:30 in the morning, and it got filled. So you can see those lines on the right-hand side. And I was just trying to say that all your trading activity, it's logged on your chart analysis. So when you open up a chart, you see all your entries and exits. And for the most part, TradeStation will pair up entries and exits for you. For example, you see here in the past, I have a couple trades on Tesla that were not so favorable. I entered up here. I bought it at, 251 and I exited at 199. So I lost about $50 per share on this single trade. A lot of times you may want to hide that data, either because you are embarrassed by it, like I am, although this is just a simulated trade. But if you want to hide your trading activity and disable it for just a moment, you can just right click on one of those arrows and disable account orders and positions. And you can see that everything just goes away. Your chart is disconnected from your trading account, and you don't see even your order lines on the right hand side. If you want to bring it back, if you want to turn on account orders and positions, just go to the settings button up here, go to account orders and positions, and then just check the box that says status, like turning the status on. And I click OK, and then I'm back on my trading activity. Okay, so again, right click on that arrow, gives you quick access to disable account orders and positions. Other shortcuts that I use on charting is changing the symbol. I'm looking at Tesla right now. You can see the symbol in the top left corner. But if I wanted to see the S&P futures, let's look at the S&P 500 E-mini futures. That's ES, and I'm going to bring up the September contract, ESU24. Notice that I'm using my keyboard to type in a symbol, and I didn't have to click anywhere to get the command line. The command line is a little box. You can see it right here in the middle of my screen that comes up automatically anytime that you start pressing keys on the keyboard. So TradeStation is responsive to keyboard commands. And a lot of things on TradeStation you can just type in, and TradeStation will take that as a command. Specifically, changing a symbol. We just typed in ESU24. You see the letters that I typed right inside of that box. And all I need to do is hit the Enter key, and TradeStation will take that as a symbol change command. Of course, you can go here to Data, go to Edit Symbol. You can go here to the symbol box. You can type it in there. You can click OK, and it does exactly the same thing. But the shortcuts are really nice and straightforward and allows you to save a lot of clicks. So if I want to take a look at Microsoft, MSFT, enter. And then I'm looking at Microsoft. If I want to look at crude oil, I'm going to do the continuous contract at CL, hit enter. And I can see the price of crude oil at $79.78 per barrel. That's pretty cool, huh? Changing the symbol. You can also change the time frame. At the beginning, you saw me that I went to the time frame little button here, and I changed my chart to daily. All these that you see on this list can be typed in as well. I like typing my intervals in because, I'm on the keyboard already when I change the symbol and hit enter, and then I just type in the time frame that I want. For example, I'm looking at a daily chart of crude oil. If I want to see intra-day activity, I can say 5 space. I can type in the word minute, which works, but many times I just do the abbreviation MIN. 5 space MIN, hit enter, and now I'm looking at a 5-minute chart of crude oil. If I change the symbol, let's say that I do Disney, DIS, and hit enter, it maintains the interval on 5 minutes. Let's say that I want to do a weekly chart of Disney. I type in the word weekly. Notice the word weekly right here in the command line. I hit enter, and this is my weekly chart of Disney. So any type of symbol, time frame combination you can do by just typing it in. I can also request historical data. Let me show you something pretty cool. If I go back to a 5-minute chart, and I squeeze the chart as to the point that it cannot go any further, you'll see this happening. You'll see how all the candles kind of squash all together on the left-hand side, and I have this empty black area on the right. The reason for this is because TradeStation only gives you a default amount of historical data. And it does that for efficiency reasons. There's no point on giving you 3 or 5 years of historical data on a 5-minute time frame if you're not going to be looking at it, right? So we give you 5 days to start. And then if you're expanded, the chart looks pretty nice. It's all filled up properly. But when you go and squeeze the chart to look at more historical data, that's when you realize that, hey, I don't have enough data. This chart is not going further back as I wanted to. You can also type in a historical time request on the command line. Let's say that I want to do 6 months. And literally, I'm just typing 6 months. You see where it says right here? I hit enter, and it's going to go into pending data mode and load the data for me in 6 months. Okay, and that's for every security that you load, you have a massive amount of historical data that you can load and put onto your charts. Okay, let's go here to a daily chart. Back to a daily chart. Okay, one thing to remember is that once you switch to a different symbol, if you switch to a different symbol, it'll remember the amount of historical data that you had on the prior chart. But if you switch the time frame, switching the time frame defaults to the amount of data that belongs to that time frame. Like for example, if I load 6 months of 5-minute data, and then I switch the time frame to 1 minute, it'll go back to 2 days. It won't have those 6 months of historical data, but you can still request it. All those amounts of historical data are defaults, and you can change those. If I come here to data and I go to edit symbol, I have the fields here for historical data. This is going 2 years back. For this daily time frame, 2 years back, I can change the default. So if you're looking at a daily chart and you always want to load 5 years instead of 2 years, you can put in a 5 here, set it as a default, and then click OK. That's all you need to do. The same for any other time frame that you use, so that every time that you load up that time frame, it has this amount of historical data. Don't go crazy though, because if you set it as a default, every time you use that symbol on that time frame, it'll load that massive amount of historical data, maybe when you don't need it. So just be aware of when you want to set it as a default and when you don't, especially if you're using radar screen, which we're going to get to in a little moment. It's a scanning tool where you can dump, hundreds of symbols. And if you do hundreds of symbols on a 5-minute time frame, and you've already set it to 10 years of data each, you can just imagine, how long it will take you to download 10 years of historical data on 500 symbols. So some of the things to think about before you set, or change those defaults. But at any time, you can request the data because it's data that's on demand, and you can just call it in and put it on your chart. Let's go ahead and talk about drawing tools and studies. I'm going to go here to drawing, horizontal line. I can draw a horizontal line right here at 100. I see the price here on the left-hand side that it went to 105. If I wanted this to be exactly at 100, I can double click on my horizontal line, go here to data, and enter the price manually. Then click OK. And now you can see how the trend line or the horizontal line is set to 100. A lot of times, based on the price scale here on the right, you may have challenges. You're dropping a line exactly at a particular price, but you can always double click the line and enter the price yourself. I can also double click on this line, go to alerts, enable the alert, and do alert once per bar. What does this do? If you enable the alert, you're making that line hot, meaning that as soon as the price activity touches it, I'm going to receive an alert. So this is an easy way for you to set up a price alert on a chart. And you can continue, adding drawing tools. Like if I go to horizontal line and I draw this other horizontal at 105, if I double click and then I enable the alert once per bar and I click OK, now I have an alert in a channel. If it touches 105, it alerts me. If it touches 100, it also alerts me. And you can do that with horizontal lines, but you can also do that with trend lines. So I'm going to go here to drawing, click on trend line. I want to draw from this low over to this low right here. I can adjust those lows if I wanted to, but maybe I'm looking at this trend line right here, right? Or this is the high trend line. there's a gap right here. But any type of analysis that you do, I just drew this trend line, allowing me to double click on it, and then going back to enable alert, and I say alert once. I'm switching this alert once per bar because sometimes if you leave it on alert continuously, what happens is that if you have a tick, a price that is jumping back and forth over that line, you'll get continuous alerts. So ding, 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 ding. And if it's just consistently happening, it could get a little bit annoying. So sometimes if you do alerts once per bar, then every bar has an opportunity to trigger that alert. But again, any drawing tool that you draw on TradeStation can be turned on for alerts. I find that to be very useful. You can also change the style, the color, the thickness, everything about the drawing tool that you need. When we go to studies, this is where you find all the technical indicators. I'm going to go and add something simple to my chart that we can all relate to. Let's go here to moving averages. And I'm going to add something simple as the moving average 2 lines. All right. You can see how the indicator is there. I didn't have to supply any parameters because every indicator has default parameters. In this case, I believe it uses 9 and 18. You can see the parameters right here on the top on the status line, inside parentheses 9 and 18. As you get familiar with TradeStation, you'll know where to look to see what the parameters are. But those can be changed. If you want to see a 50-bar moving average or a 100-bar moving average or a 30-bar moving average, or an 18 or a 21, if you're looking into Fibonacci numbers, you can just double click on the lines, go to the inputs, and then you can change the parameters there. This is true for every study that is built into TradeStation. It makes it very easy for you to modify the calculations of the study and make it do what you want it to do. But most importantly is that I can go here to alerts, and I have the same alert functionality that I saw in trend lines. I can come here and enable the alert. The nice thing about this alert is that it's programmed based on the technical idea that I'm using. And every indicator in TradeStation has built-in criteria. For the moving averages, that criteria is when the 2 lines cross. So if you want to be alerted anytime stocks are crossing, you can use the moving averages for that purpose. You see, right now, the 2 lines are not connecting, but as soon as they touch, I will get an alert. So yeah, drawings and studies can be turned on for alerts, but let me show you a little bit of scanning functionality, because this idea of a moving average can be used also to scan for opportunities. Let me go ahead and open up a new workspace. In this new workspace, I'm going to go here to radar screen. Radar screen is a real-time scanning tool, so make sure that you find it in the apps menu. It's going to be something that you'll appreciate when using. I'm going to just put it here on the left because I also want to pair this up with a chart analysis. I have a chart here on the right and I have my radar screen on the left. Okay, on this radar screen, I'm going to go to data and add a symbol list. And I'm going to add the NASDAQ 100. We have 3 indexes, or the components of 3 indexes right here on this menu for easy access. And you can, insert the S&P 500 or the Dow Jones Industrial. In this example, I'm going to use the NASDAQ 100, which loads all the 100 symbols that make up the NASDAQ index. Let me remove the top 2 rows by highlighting and pressing delete. I'm also going to remove these 4 columns that I don't need. So I click and drag over the headers to highlight, and then I press delete on my keyboard. Let me go ahead and link my radar screen by using the S for symbol on the title bar. Now you can see the 2 windows have the same color on that S, allow me to click on any of the symbols and get the chart of that symbol. So if I want to see a chart of AMAT or applied materials, I click it, and now I see it here on the chart. If I want to see the same thing for Costco, I click it, and now I see it here on my chart. On this chart here on the right-hand side, I'm going to go to Studies, Add Studies. I clicked on the wrong thing, sorry. When I go to Studies, Add Study, the same study that I use in charting, well, here, that I'm putting here on the screen, I'm going to put it here inside my radar screen. That's one of the things that sets, radar screen apart from any other quotes window out there, because we have this ability of doing technical analysis on hundreds of symbols. Right now we only have 100, but you could have inserted the S&P 500 if you wanted to. But I want to add the moving average 2 lines right here. But I want to do a moving average crossover, not on an intraday. I may want to do it on a daily chart, like a daily moving average. I'm going to go to the time frame, change my chart to daily. That changes the chart here. And if you look over here on my radar screen, there's also an interval component, because if you start adding studies or technical indicators to radar screen, of course, there's going to be an interval or time frame component to it, because it has to know which type of data to use in the calculations. So I want this to match my chart. So I'm going to go and highlight all the symbols, because remember that the time frame, even though we have a column here for interval, the time frame is linked to the symbol itself. So I'm going to click on the header for symbol, go to time frame, and change all my symbols to daily. So that'll set my screen to daily, as you can see. Okay, and that's loading my moving averages here on the right-hand side. The fast and the slow, those are two values that are calculated on the moving average. But what I'm interested in is not really the value. I'm interested in finding out which ones are crossing. So this is finishing to load. You can see that it has to load, historical data on each one of these symbols and calculate the moving averages. What we did right now by adding this column is like adding the moving average to lines to 100 symbols, like having 100 individual chart analysis windows, but in one application. Makes it very powerful. But what I want here is to turn on the alert to see which ones are crossing right now. I'm going to right click on the column header, go to studies, and I'm going to edit moving average 2 lines for all symbols. And in the alerts tab, I'm going to enable the alert. In this case, in radar screen, I am going to say alert continuously, because my alerts are going to be visual. I'm not relying on sounds or pop-up messages. In fact, right here at the bottom, I'm going to disable sounds and pop-up messages because I'm using it as a scanning tool, not like an alerting tool. Okay, so let me just click OK. When I do that, I'm not sure if you notice on your side of the screen, but there's a little yellow corner on each one of the rows of my radar screen. And every so often, I see a red marker. The red marker represents a real-time alert. Yes, those are the ones that are crossing right now. So I can see Amgen is crossing. Let me go ahead and click on Amgen and take a look. That's why I have the chart here on the right-hand side, so I can get the visual of the crossover. And you can see that for a few weeks, the moving averages were separated, but today we have a crossover. This is a bearish crossover because the cyan is crossing below the magenta, and we can clearly see how the past few days it's been a drop on Amgen. Let's take a look at this other stock, Coca-Cola. This is Coca-Cola what? This is the Euro-Pacific Partners, CCEP. Interesting. This one right here also has similar behavior. We have a dramatic rally in price. It went from 66 all the way to 75. And then we see a huge drop in the past few days, which generates a signal on that moving average. Now, is that really a signal that we should trade? It's up to you to decide. Now, it comes here and you start analyzing all other different factors of Coca-Cola or Amgen and see if they pose a trading opportunity for you. But what we were able to do is we were able to use radar screen as a tool to let us know which symbols we need to pay attention to based on this idea. If this is something that you follow, moving averages is something you use all the time. It's one of the most popular technical indicators out there. If this is something you use, then why not use it to get started and see which ones are triggering the alert right now? I can use this filter bar at the top of my radar screen to filter my bar even further. I can go here, there's a drop down. I can go and select my moving average 2 lines, select alert right here in the middle, and set it to true. what that does is that filters my radar screen, and it only shows me the symbols that meet the criteria that I'm looking for. Pretty impressive. Within a couple minutes, I was able to tell that 11 stocks out of 100 are triggering the alert on the moving average. We already took a look at Coca-Cola and Amgen, but we have Marriott International. For Marriott, the signal is not as clear as the other two. You can see that we've had back-to-back crossovers in the past few days. For Comcast, same. You see the trading activity or the price activity kind of is consolidating into some sort of a channel between 38 and 40. And it doesn't seem like it's a clear indication of a change in trend. We have Cintas Corporation, maybe a little bit more dramatic here. We had a rally a few days or a couple weeks ago, and all of a sudden we're getting a bearish signal on the downside. A little bit late though. I mean, this is a lagging indicator, of course. For most of the indicators that this alert is triggered, of course, you're going to see this big drop in price, at least for the bearish signals. You're going to see this big drop in price, and it's being alerted today, even though, it took how many dollars? It took about $8 drop in order for the moving averages to react to this. But still, is it going to continue to drop? Are we hitting support as we did, earlier in the month or last month? That's something that you need to determine. But this tool right here, Radar Screen, is going to help you find opportunities on any technical idea, even the ones that you create yourself, because you may have an interesting idea or a methodology or a characteristic that you're looking for. You can plug that into TradeStation as a custom study, and Radar Screen can do scans on that criteria that you create. Okay, let's talk a little bit about trading. Let me go here to the matrix. I'm not sure how many people here use the matrix. The matrix is an application that allows you to place trades quickly. I'm going to put the matrix here on the left, and I'm going to open up a chart analysis on the right, as I did on my prior workspace. I want to link these two together by clicking on the S's. And let me change the symbol here to Verizon. Do we have any? We don't have any positions on Verizon. Okay. So the matrix allows me to look at level 2, or what's called market depth. I see the current trading price of Verizon, which is 39.11, the one that's highlighted in gray right there in the middle. And I also see on the blue and in the red, anyone that is interested in buying and selling Verizon. This is connected to the exchanges. So this is not only what's happening at TradeStation, this is what's happening from the exchange. The books, or the ECN books, and market makers are receiving orders from all over the world, and we get a little bit of visibility of how many how many shares or contracts are waiting at each level to be executed. For example, right here at $39, everybody sees this level, $39. You see there's 67,854 shares waiting to be bought at 39. That's a big chunk of shares waiting to get filled at that price. What would that do, or what effect would that have on the price? Well, it's clear that if the price dropped because there's a big sell-off, when it reaches $39, it has to fill those $68,000 before it continues to drop. In fact, that buying pressure may even do the opposite. Instead of stalling the price, it may just reverse the price activity. So a lot of the market depth and level 2 data that you get visibility of helps you see the market sentiment. Like over here, 39.30, you see this sell-off. There's 300,000 shares waiting to be sold at 39.30. What effect will that have on price when it reaches that level? Well, we can sit here and find out, but this is great information for you to also determine where you want to place your trade. But if you want to be a buyer, you can click on the blue. And if you want to be a seller, you can click on a sell. But I'm going to do, let me just something really quick. So I can go here to maybe 39 and join that big order. That's 100 shares right there. Let me click on that box to cancel the order because I did not change the quantity. Let's do 1,000 shares. I'm going to come back here, click on the blue, and then my order is sent. I want you to notice something, that my confirmations are turned off. That's something you can do on your side as well. I usually have the chart open here on the right-hand side because it gives me visibility as to where that order is. Notice that I have my order here at 39. I can change that order by clicking and dragging. Let's say that I want to get closer to the price activity and I want to drop it at 39.10. All I need to do is left click, drag, and drop it at 39.10. There we go. Cancel replaced the original order. And now I'm 39.10. Notice how my chart here gets automatically updated. If I want to get filled, I can just drop it right here inside the best ask. Order filled. I get filled. I'm not sure if you heard my computer, but I can see P&L on the left-hand side. And I also see a yellow line here on my chart representing my open position. If I set a stop loss or a profit target using this dollar amount, let's say I want to sell when it reaches $200. I can click on that $200, and that's a selling transaction at 39.34. You can see the selling transaction here on the chart as well. These orders on the chart can also be adjusted. So let's go here at the top. There's a chart trading utility. Many times I turn it on so that I can adjust my order here as well. Like for example, my stop here on the matrix is not visible anymore, just because of the way that the prices are listed at every penny. It expands the view a lot. So if I wanted to see my order, I'd have to scroll up, and that's where I see my order. But let's say, for example, that I want to use my chart to determine a good profit level. And let's say that I want to do 39.60, which was, the opening price a few days ago as my target. Rather than, finding 39.60 up here, which is right here, I can click and drag. I can do it here as well. I can click that order and drag it to 39.60. There we go. And now it switches here on the left-hand side. So these order entry tools are interconnected, but I can use the chart trading utility to have a visual of all the historical prices and kind of know what levels to select as support and resistance. I mean, those are things that you can do on the chart. So having the two applications open at the same time, matrix and charting, I find that to be convenient as well. Let me show you a trade, what's called an all-inclusive trade, meaning that you have an entry, a profit target, and a stop loss. I'm going to go here to, this is AT&T. All right, AT&T is trading at $17.20. Let's say, for example, that I want to buy it at the current price, which is $17.19. I'm going to do a market order. But at the same time, I'm looking at the chart here, and I want to set my target at $17.50, 30 cents higher, because that's where it was a few days ago. And I may think that it's going to reach that level again. And I'm going to set my stop right here at $17.10, 10 cents where it was, a couple of weeks ago. If I want to do that trade, I can do it here on the matrix, or I can do it in chart trading. And you pick the tool that you're most comfortable with. But here on the matrix, I can attach what's called an OSO. OSO stands for order sense order. And what I'm trying to do is connect my entry to my exits. I'm going to connect an exit bracket with one limit and one stop. I'm going to go here to the ellipsis. I did say that I wanted my target to be 30 cents away, and I wanted my stop to be 10 cents away. That's a price offset. It's calculated at the time of execution. So I'm going to click OK. And all I need to do is buy at market. Order filled. There we go. Notice how it bought at 17.20. I have my target at 17.50. And I have my stop at 17.10. All in one trade. So since I've already calculated my profits and I also calculated my risk, I can go on to something else, and let this trade play out completely. I don't have to adjust it. I could adjust it, if you are getting a little bit more greedy, or if you're getting scared or fear gets over you. That's the times that we start, tweaking our orders. But if we already planned a trade from the very get-go, then Ideally, we should be able to just let it play itself, right? But all this order entry functionality allows you to do what you do best, which is focus on the markets. We have the tools, we have the technology that allow you to trade efficiently, place trades together. So all that trading functionality is there. We have far more deep dives into the functionality that you can watch. And I can always refer to you to additional documentation. But this is my class. I want to share our email address. It's education@tradestation.com. For any questions about content, or any questions about events or anything that you'd like to ask our education team, you're welcome to email us. If it's questions regarding the platform, like how do I do this, how do I do that, we suggest you call the technical support department. We have a client experience team that answers questions all day. So you can call them at any time. They'll pick up the phone and they can walk you over the phone through some of the steps of the platform, okay? For everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. Sorry about my voice, it's giving out. I want to say that it was really a pleasure for me to be here. Look at the events calendar for upcoming topics, and I look forward to seeing you there. Have a wonderful afternoon, everyone. Goodbye.